Unless we do something about this, my children are going to grow up in a jungle, the jungle being a racial jungle with tensions having built so high that it is going to explode at some point. We have got to make a move on this. Joseph Robinette Biden, Democrat from Delaware. How about that? Work, damn it. Button.
I atop the battlements of Castle Curmudgeon, where sometimes the universe rewards you for procrastinating. As I was reminded about 4 hours ago when I sat down to write what I thought was going to be the news roundup and discovered shit, Joe Biden just quit the race and he announced it on Twitter? Like, really, Joe? That's where we are now? The point being, I guess I'm not writing a news roundup at all, am I? I guess I'm doing a monologue of hot takes on this very momentous historic event. But before we do all that, since we are civilized people and not barbarian savages who open shows without proper salutations, good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America and all ships at sea. Welcome to the Blast Radius. So glad you could join us this evening. And needless to say, there is much to unpack. Christ, we already had much to unpack as it was, since, after all, it's only been 8 days since the former president was struck in the head by an assassin's bullet, and astoundingly, inexplicably, intolerably, the idiot Secret Service director still has a job. That was supposed to still be the hot topic on the table today, in addition to the Republican convention, the pot on the front burner, if you will. But then, like a bolt from the blue party, we're hit with the news that for the first time in recorded history, a president has dropped out of the race by tweeting out a photograph of a letter. I think most people would agree that a momentous decision like that maybe ought to be announced in a televised address to the nation, but I guess that just ain't how Joe Biden rolls, is it? God damn it, I earned my COVID vacation, and I'm not letting you assholes put that orange spray paint on me one more time. Just put out a written statement. No, I don't need to proofread it. I haven't proofread a goddamn thing since I became president. Ain't gonna start now. Go away, you bother me. I've been awake for 45 minutes. I need a good long nap. I'm freaking exhausted. Now, in terms of putting this event into some sort of proper historical context, I would categorize it as just short of unprecedented. There's only been, to the best of this reporter's knowledge, one other time in our history when an incumbent president has announced his candidacy for re-election and conducted a campaign and then quit before the convention. The one other time was Lyndon Johnson in 1968, but that was an altogether different thing in a couple of different ways. First, because Johnson quit the race very early on in the campaign after the first primary, in fact, which he did win, but he won it by such a shockingly, unexpectedly small margin for an incumbent president that he took it as the writing on the wall in terms of his ultimate chances of being renominated. And he figured it would be less humiliating to quit early on in the race rather than lose outright in the end. And he was probably right. But this is the first time a president has ever quit after the primaries are done, when he has long since secured enough delegates to clinch the nomination. And Lyndon Johnson is about to feature in this monologue for a second time, because in a post-1960 world, I don't think anybody is sure exactly what happens now. You see, before 1960, the primaries and the caucuses always existed to some extent, and you could use them to rack up some delegates and maybe increase your national profile if you were a minor fringe candidate, but there was little about them that was actually binding. They were mostly just informal straw polls of voter opinion more than anything else. When it came time to go to the National Party convention, none of the delegates you earned in the primaries were actually obliged to vote for you when it came down to the real thing. And it was John F. Kennedy, who wasn't initially seen as a major contender for the nomination in 1960, who was the first guy who said, you know what? I'm going to go contest every primary, build my national profile that way, and when we get to the convention, maybe my delegates will be confident enough to stick with me. Meanwhile, Lyndon Johnson, the Senate Majority Leader, who was seen by everybody as the number one contender for the nomination that year, he was laughing at Kennedy for running around the country wasting all that energy on the stupid primaries. That's not what serious candidates do, young man. Serious candidates save it for the convention. That's where you do your horse trading. But as we know, Kennedy wound up being right, and Johnson wound up being rather spectacularly wrong. So wrong, in fact, that he had to settle for the indignity of being Kennedy's running mate. And ever since Kennedy established that model, the parties have both moved inexorably in that direction, where the primaries are where we actually choose the nominees, and the convention is more of just a four-night made-for-TV political rally. The parties have found that they like this arrangement much better than the old one, because it gives them far more direct control over who the nominee winds up being, and it eliminates the possibility, which always exists in an open, brokered convention, of some unknown dark horse candidate emerging out of left field at the 11th hour and making off with the nomination, which has happened a few times over the years, with the Republicans especially, Rutherford Hayes and James Garfield being probably the two most famous examples. But the parties really don't like that sort of uncertainty, and especially not here in the era of big money politics, where the donor class effectively makes all of the rules. It's not a strong look if you have to fundraise on behalf of a general election candidate who nobody has ever heard of before the convention and has no national brand identity. And the primary system exists largely for the purpose of forestalling such eventualities. And the media obviously like this arrangement very much as well, because it enables them to pretty much do never-ending election coverage 12 months every year and hold debate after debate after debate after debate, even when we're a year and a half or more out from the election. The midterms end, then you slide right into the next presidential cycle. I mean, hey, you got a 24-hour fake news cycle. You got to fill it with some kind of content, am I right? But long story short, anybody on your television who says they know exactly what is going to take place at the Democrat convention in Chicago a few weeks from now, or who says it's already a fait accompli that Kamala Harris becomes the presumptive nominee just because Biden endorsed her, is lying, because nobody has the faintest idea how that convention's going to go. It's a funny thing about living through an unprecedented set of circumstances. Things get really unpredictable in a big damn hurry. And let's not pretend there is anything resembling unity in the Democrat Party over whether the California cackler should even get the top spot on the ticket, because there is not. Just like there was still no broad consensus up until this afternoon on whether Biden should quit or stay in the race. But there are still some Democrats who prefer to live in political reality. And the political reality is that Kamala Harris is the most intensely disliked vice president since people first ever started keeping track of such things. It should be impossible to be an unpopular vice president, but through her peculiar and quite unique combination of crippling incompetence and a total inability to speak her own native language intelligibly, Kamala Harris has managed to pull it off. And there is no mechanism, so far as I'm aware, in the DNC bylaws that enables a presumptive nominee like Joe Biden under the current rules to simply transfer his pledged delegates to a replacement of his choosing. So I would expect the first day of the convention to be taken up with a veritable orgy of very hasty rule changes that seek to make this replacement process they're trying to pull off as seamless as possible. Will the delegates vote in favor of said rule changes? Who the hell knows? Will there be some delegates at the convention who are pledged to Joe Biden who don't necessarily want to vote for Kamala Harris? Yes, of course. It's impossible that there wouldn't be. But here's the question that's at the top of my mind. Is there any way for the DNC to thread this needle where they grease the skids to get Kamala into the top spot while also precluding the emergence of an old-fashioned dark horse candidate who swoops into the convention and runs off with the nomination after 47, 48 ballots, James Garfield style? I don't know that there is. I don't know that you can do the one and the other at the same time with the same set of rule changes, but I guess we will see soon enough. There's another question, though, that is far more pressing and consequential than who winds up at the top of the Democrat ticket on 6 November. And it's the question, should Joe Biden remain in office until next January? To put it more bluntly, if a president's mental infirmities preclude him from standing for re-election, don't they also preclude him from effectively discharging the duties of his office? It's a rhetorical question, obviously, because any honest person who has been paying any sort of attention for the last several years knows it's been quite some time since Joe Biden was capable of effectively discharging the duties of the presidency, if indeed he ever was. And I think Baghdad Buckwheat, the world's worst press secretary for the world's worst president, is going to have the most difficult presser of her tenure tomorrow morning, because the duty is going to fall to her, of all people, to come up with some sort of rationale for how her boss is fit to remain in office, but unfit by his own admission to stand for re-election, or by extension, to continue in office past next January. What's she going to come up with? Unclear. I just know that I am totally here for it. Now, what's the immediate downside of what's taken place in the last several hours? Well, we already had an administration full of feckless douchebags who couldn't power project their way out of a wet paper bag, led by a chief executive who probably can't go to the bathroom by himself. But by this action today, we have fully exposed our neck to every bad guy and potential adversary in the world who seeks an opportune moment to do us harm. We have sent up the official smoke signal that says there is no hand on the tiller, steady or otherwise, so please feel free to abuse us at your leisure. If I'm China, I'm taking this as a 6-month window to move on Taiwan. If I'm Iran, I'm taking this as a 6-month window to move on Israel. If I'm Russia, I see a 6-month window in which to consolidate my gains in eastern Ukraine. If I'm a scumbag dictator in Central or South America, I see a 6-month window in which to finish the work of emptying out my prisons and my insane asylums and sending everybody up to the United States. So where am I going with this? Well, I think there's a better than 50-50 chance that Joe Biden has resigned the presidency by the next time we convene 7 days from now. There are 1,000 reasons, and we've only briefly run through a few of the more screamingly obvious ones here, why the thing Joe Biden is attempting to do, which is quit as the candidate and remain as the president, is untenable and unacceptable and cannot be allowed to happen. When Lyndon Johnson quit, first of all, it was way the hell before he became the presumptive nominee. And second of all, it was not because he lacked the mental capacity to remain in office. It was because he knew he was fixing to get his ass kicked and he wanted to avoid the embarrassment. Joe Biden, on the other hand, can make no such claim. And so here are the similarities between the two cases end. And here I was, all ready to celebrate the fact that after 93 years in the wilderness as a neglected, marginalized population, we bearded Americans are finally represented once again on a major party presidential ticket after this nearly century-long depressing succession of naked-faced Nancy boys. Thank you, President Trump, for being the man who finally heard our plaintive cries for justice and representation and moved to provide some small measure of redress in this decades-long injustice. In addition, and I know my co-host will support me on this, we hereby grant you membership in the Beardless Men We Trust Club. It's very exclusive, a high honor indeed. Your plaque and membership card will be in the mail. And now, before my voice gives out, I pass the controls to the man who is going to get us out of this flat spin, my distinguished colleague, your illustrious co-host, the one and only, your friend and mine, Mr. Caucasian Sasquatch.
Tactical nuke incoming!
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Blast Radius, where we will plot the entire degradation of all of Western civilization, starting primarily with Washington, because, boy, is that a swamp. Listen, I have a method by which Kamala can win the presidency. Actually, that's not true. I have a method by which Kamala can lose the presidency and win the presidency for Michelle Obama. And we'll get into that just as soon as we come back from the chat. So, hell of a week, man.
Did you ever feel like you could never possibly cope with the pace of events?
Sometimes I'm not a hugely political creature, and so until I started paying attention to politics a little bit, it wasn't really a thing. You know, I didn't have to worry about it. It wasn't a thought process. But this past 2 weeks has been absolutely killer, man.
Oh, I know. We are just every few days we get a story that deserves to be like a story that spends 2 weeks on the. I mean, freaking Trump getting shot in the head is like the number 3 story on the burner at this point, and that's freaking insane. It was 8 days ago, but we've already had the RNC since then, and now today the president quits the race. And sometimes it's almost too much to process, but we still do because we are here for you, audience.
Right. So yeah, the big story, Biden drops out. This puts the Democratic Party in a very strange and unusual position, unlike anything seen before, really. How I mean,
like I said, there's really only one precedent, and it is a decidedly imperfect one. So we very much are in uncharted territory right now as we speak.
Absolutely. There's nothing to compare it to. I mean, even if you look into other countries, their constitutions aren't analogous enough to really utilize in any way. So in this case, we are dealing with an incumbent president who has deemed himself incapable of running for a second term, a VP who has just, I don't think anybody really likes her, but the Never Trumpers would accept it. And
it was announced on Twitter.
Right. Yeah. No, see, that's another thing. Like, when did Twitter become Washington's town hall? When did Twitter become a more reliable dispensation of information than an actual press conference? Okay, my man's got COVID. I got you. He's got a problem. Okay, he can't do an appearance.
Exactly.
Well,
That's a thing. Announce that on Twitter. That's fine. More power to you. But you're dropping out of the race when you're already the nominee. That's not the kind of thing. I don't care if you got freaking COVID and you're sequestered in Rehoboth Beach. You ran the whole 2020 campaign that way. Don't give me that bullshit. There is some kind of way you could go on camera and announce this very, very momentous historic news to the American people of whom you are their president. And that is absolutely shamefully, disgustingly awful that we are not even entitled to that much courtesy.
Well, I imagine he's got some sour grapes fiasco type going on. So I teased an idea about how to get Michelle Obama into office, right? And I went over a little bit of it backstage with you beforehand.
If you want to just run through it without me commenting, you can do that.
Okay. The only way, in fact, I'm going to take the primary stage for this one. It's this good. Listen, Democrats, get your pens out because this might work. If you run Kamala Harris as president, have her choose Michelle Obama as vice president. Michelle can campaign as if she is campaigning for presidency, not for this election, but for the next election. And if she approaches it from that perspective, she'll have the next election on a lock, because if Trump can't build Vance, is Vance right? Vance is the right name. Isn't that his name? The VP.
Yes.
All right. If Trump can't build his grassroots well enough, then Michelle Obama wouldn't even have a competitor that has the star power that she does. So she would be a walk-on, an easy win. And she could feasibly pull that off for 8 years, because I don't see anyone else in the Republican Party showing up with enough clout to flail around on her, right? All right, Jay, that's cool. Like I said, you're not gonna find me being one of those people that gets my ego all bruised because other people had problems. I mean, things happen, life sucks, we get it. It's fine.
I mean, I have heard probably every Michelle Obama theory in the book, and many of them are quite detailed and very fanciful. But I still inevitably go back to the fact that that's a person who's never been a government official and has no relevant experience, because being married to the president is not a job.
Okay. All right. I'll give you that. But Big Mike has star power. She has the ability to wander around in the halls of power and nobody arch an eyebrow. This is the most flawless deep skate.
And I will grant you that in a world where an election for president of the United States is just a contest of celebrity, then this is a salient idea.
I don't like the idea of celebrity being the thing that drives an election. That's
that's pretty much the reality that we live in now. So
that's where we're at. I'll put it this way:
if celebrity wasn't the most important consideration, we would not have people in Congress like Miss Ocasio-Cortez from Westchester.
If you were to remove the political machine from Twitter, if you were to say anyone running for public office cannot comment on a social media of any sort, right? Just make that illegal. Vermin Supreme would win in the next presidency. I guarantee you, because he has a fully open Twitter and is very active on social media, and he campaigns on Tuesdays and like off seasons. He would win.
But I think you raise a good point, and potentially a very broad area of discussion, because we are still very much in the infant phases of developing a set of social mores around internet use, because this thing has only existed for what, quarter of a century, maybe, since
Sure.
Everybody's had it, and I think they're whether they are enforced by the letter of law or not, I would prefer that they not be. But there have been similar conventions that have developed in professions over time, where it is understood that if you go into a certain profession or a certain line of work, then there are certain things that you can no longer do. Like, if you become a judge, you can't really be a political activist anymore. Though a lot of leftist judges seem to have forgotten that today. But that used to be, a really important rule of judicial ethics. And similarly, I think if in the future people who go into certain professions, part of the bargain, if you want to be seen as ethically upstanding in your chosen line of work, is that you do not use social media, period.
And
especially not in your official capacity.
Obama was really the first president that had this issue, and he was always being harped upon about how much he used his BlackBerry, and when he used it was a big deal, and what type of documentations went through the BlackBerry, because the BlackBerry
I know. I remember it was a huge controversy after he won the first election, that they were going to have to figure out a way to encrypt his BlackBerry so it was secure for presidential use. You remember that?
Yeah, that was a big thing. It was a big issue because no previous president had ever tweeted. It was not a thing.
It had never come up before.
And so suddenly we have someone's personal device who is a matter of national security, and he doesn't want to use the state phone. He wants to use his BlackBerry. And so I guarantee you a handful of eggheads down at the Pentagon sat down and made him a custom BlackBerry, probably had an emergency code for the football in it or something, you know.
Well, and not just that, but there's a whole series of people who have to invent new sets of rules and procedures around that kind of thing, like the National Archives, because you've got to give them the opportunity to preserve the presidential communications that they are allowed by law to preserve, and you introduce a whole set of complications when you start doing that on electric devices instead of just papers and telephones, like it was for a hell of a long time.
That is something to consider that I'm not sure anyone in the audience may have considered. Every tweet ever tweeted by a president is in the National Archive.
Yep.
What dystopian nightmare if we opened up?
Well, and it is treated exactly the same as a letter from Thomas Jefferson to the governor of New York in 1804.
Yep. Absolutely, and as it should be, you know, these are the words of the sitting president of the United States, who up until at least the last couple of cycles was the larger power in the world. I mean, you can make the argument that China, and you can make an argument that Russia, but technologically as well as militarily, neither of them single-handedly could have stood against us. At this point,
no.
I don't know. Don't know.
Let me just say that if it came to fighting a naval war against China, I am there for it.
Oh yeah, well,
I know that we see articles all the time about the Chinese Navy has got this scary new ship that we should be so afraid of, and I continue to say I will continue to say as long as there is breath in my lungs, come talk to me when China has ever won a battle on the high seas.
And okay, all right, yeah, they're not a ocean-going power, not historically speaking, at least. I mean, even when they tried to take Japan, it always went horribly wrong, and that's not fun.
And how seriously am I supposed to take a fleet whose name is the People's Liberation Army Navy? Can't do it. I'm not that strong. God damn it.
There's a joke in there somewhere. We're gonna have to figure that out later. But
yeah,
okay,
the name is the joke. You don't even need to make a joke.
Damn it. I brought something for you. You want to hear it?
Yes.
Wish death upon me, blood in my dog, and I can't see. I'm trying to be what I'm destined to be, and Lean is trying to take my life away. I put a hole in the nigga for fucking with me. My bad, I'm a lot that you gon' see. Better watch how you talk.
That's all you get. Y'all want any of that? I'm gonna drop the. That's some high res. I love his work. My man does excellent work.
I was just about to start beatboxing in the background too.
I was just gonna be going. That. Yeah, there you go. We got it. But hey, it's the president of the United States, bro. Got shot. Not shot at. Hit him.
You know what I think is funny? When and I've heard him do it a few times in the last couple of weeks, when the actual president of the United States refers to somebody else as the president.
One of my shorts that I did was a quote from Biden where he says, "How many times does Trump have to prove that I can't be trusted?" And it made me laugh till I cried because that man actually said those words on national TV. It wasn't even like a lawn speech or anything. This was planned.
Well, and you know what's even more fascinating about the fact that, presidential tweets are now official communications curated and collected by the National Archives. But consider also the fact that Joe Biden doesn't write any of his own tweets. He's got some purple-haired 30-something-year-old staffer who writes his tweets, and I would love to meet that person and see what their typical day looks like.
Are you? Can you imagine trying to?
Can you even imagine? I mean, we could come up with the most absurd comedy version we could possibly envisage, and I guarantee it would not be as funny as the actual reality.
So I went and dug up the body language ghost thing of it. Did we get to that last week? I don't think we did.
I don't think we did.
All right. So she is an expert in reading like micro expression and body language of people involved in stressful situations. She teaches classes on this, and the name of the channel is Body Language Ghost. Okay. On YouTube.
Outstanding channel. You should subscribe to it.
She is magnificent, absolutely excellent. She sees people the same way I do when I'm having a interaction with someone. Most people just talk to them. I'm watching their micro expressions and stuff, because I got so much ADD, it's pouring out my ears. But
well, the thing I love about her videos is that she points out things that you understand instinctively, just from intuition, but she puts it in words in a way that perhaps you or I could not, because she's a professional in the field.
Right. She does this so effortlessly, it amazes me. But she sees people the way I see people, as individuals, right? So check it out.
Who saw this on their 2024 bingo card? Everybody. We all knew that eventually this was what was going to happen. Nobody predicted anything. It's like saying it's going to rain. One day it's going to rain. One day they were going to shoot him. So a few things, just report wise. Some photos coming out of the zoom ins on him. Looks like he's got some bullet holes in his jacket. Obviously.
That was debunked. Apparently that was somebody claimed. Well, some people claim it's a photoshopped photo. Other people claim it's just a wrinkle in the jacket. But apparently,
I've still been wondering about that.
Yeah.
We've all assumed that he's been wearing a bulletproof vest. But at this point, all of that is speculation. No one quite knows for sure. There is just watching video and things exploding.
This is a big crowd. This is a big, beautiful crowd.
So in the initial of this, he's Trump. He's the same guy we've been seeing now for the past, it's like 9 or 10 years of watching this man do rallies. Holy cow. Anyways, this is normal. He's relaxed. We're not seeing any real stress coming through other than the norm. There's nothing that says, ooh, today's going to be the day.
I wish the fake news back there would show it. I wish they'd spin their cameras and show it, because nobody would believe it. The other day, Biden was saying, I've got big crowds. Meeting him, he gets big crowds. He doesn't know what a big... And there were like 93 people there. 93, you know what that is? That's where the front row Joes sit, right here, 93. We got more than 93 front row Joes. Hello, Butler, and hello to Pennsylvania. I'm thrilled to be back. It is beautiful Commonwealth with thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots, and that's what you are. And we got to bring our country back to health, because our country is going to hell, if you haven't noticed. Millions and millions of people are poor.
He's not doing too well on his words. That's twice now that he's messed up. I think he was trying to avoid saying hell. Didn't want that mishap. It could be the heat, because I tell you, if I'm in that much heat, it ain't fun. But it also could be that's where the mind's at. All right, so now the bullets start flying.
And that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
All right.
I give you Donald the Bullet Dodger Trump.
Oh, I know. God, that last head turn, just, my God.
I'm talking the heebie-jeebies in the word, bro. If you've ever heard a bullet buzz by you, it is one of the scariest sounds on earth. It's you can't compare it to anything because there's nothing that sounds like a bullet. It's not a natural thing.
It's a 15-degree head turn at the last possible instant that makes the difference between a graze on the ear and an exploded head. That's how small the margins are here. It's
I swear he saw the shooter pop up, turned and looked at him, and that's what saved his life. I don't think he consciously did it. I think he just saw a movement in the wrong spot and was going to look at it and something bit his ear. Hey, you man, luck. Good God. What's up, John Denicola? Welcome in, bud.
hey,
So
John.
obviously you see him grab his ear face area. You see the arm come in actually quite tight to protect himself.
Oh, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
I don't see where the jacket gets hit. I do see that he doesn't react to things getting shot at him until after we start hearing bullets flying. So the body is reacting appropriately. And then our heroes run to protect our president.
Do you see this woman right here?
Yep. I watched a video about her yesterday, as a matter of fact.
Watch her throughout this entire event. She's right here. Y'all keep an eye on this chick. Do you know who this chick is? She's
behind the sign that the other person's holding up, right by Trump's cuff on his left hand.
all right. We got Juicy J in here. Let's get him in the right spot. All right, bud. Welcome to the Blast Radio. We're gonna take a moment here and just let you go ahead and tell everybody who you is and what you is doing.
Hey guys, my name is Jay Willow. I am part of Juicy J's Hot Topics. That's the name of the show. Jay's Hot Topics is the channel. I cover a lot of what you see over here, actually. Geopolitics, U.S. politics, usually trending topics, socio-political issues. I also do go into some current events. A lot of times I go into current events. I also go into economics and finance. And I do host debates from time to time. And every now and then I'll do some fun topics. Sometimes I'll just hang out, show some combat footage, and maybe just shoot the shit. But for the most part, this is the kind of stuff I cover. By the way, guys, thank you for being so patient. I had to get dinner done and I wanted to look presentable for this one. I've been busy running around all day on this Sunday, so I appreciate you guys for being so very patient and allowing me to come up on the show when I did.
You're fine.
Good to have you, sir.
A Sunday is a difficult day for almost anybody to shake time loose, and it's the only time I have with this man. So this is when it happens. Some people can't do it, some people can. It's a thing we try to work around. We were kind of in the middle of going over a body language ghost video on the shooting. I don't know if you're familiar with the channel.
I've never heard of the channel, but I was listening to you guys in the back before I got on. She almost sounds kind of like, what's his name? I think it's Peter Navarro. He's a body language expert. He wrote the book called What Everybody Is Saying.
She teaches that very course. That's the thing that she just retired from doing. Yes, or fixing to retire from doing. I can't remember. But
so I do find it interesting. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What I was pointing out. Let me find the chick. Where's she at? There she is, right there. This one. The bullets are fixing to fly. She is not filming. We have 10 seconds, right? 10 seconds. What she's doing. What is she doing?
Where the jacket gets hit. I do see that he doesn't react to things getting shot.
He's looking over in that direction.
He's looking directly at where the shooter is. She's catching. Poof.
And then here's the phone.
Poof. She doesn't flinch. She does not flinch. She simply sits down and gets a good view of the president being shot. She looks straight at the shooter.
There's no surprised reaction to the gunshots, which we see in every other person, which is kind of strange. I mean, maybe she's just the random housewife who happens to be that brave under fire, but I don't know. It certainly does look very incongruous.
Do you know who she is?
I do not.
I've never heard of this. You mean the person doing the analysis, or this chick back here that you're circling?
This lady, the one that I'm circling with the this lady here in the crowd. She works for the FBI. I can't remember if she's the sub director or director. She is a head honcho at the FBI. She is looking straight at the shooter right now.
Does this person, what do they call her? What ghost? Body language ghost? Was that her name?
Yeah.
Okay. Does she also do an analysis of the video with the agent who's to the right hand side of the stage where he's ushering people out moments before the shooting?
I think there's one on that. I think it just came out and I didn't get a chance to go get it. I hadn't even looked at it. But I bet
because
it's great.
I'm gonna tell you right now, if you look at that footage combined with this one, it shows you there's a lot of nefarious shit going on, because that agent as well, as he's moving, if you notice at the agent video, as he's moving the gesturing the people over, he's kind of crouching himself, he's gazing himself down, and he bends his knees as he's directing people, and the moment the shot goes off, he instantly dips down, not like a flinch and then dips down. It's more of like an expected flinch. You know, your body's going to react no matter what.
Yeah.
And, you know, you prime yourself for it. And he does flinch very unnaturally and then goes immediately down to a crouch position while all the other agents are running around and flipping their shit.
If you can get a link to that, I'll definitely take a look at it.
Give me 1 second. I got you. Give me a second.
You got time, bro. We ain't in no hurry. This chick here, she needs to be deeply delved into, because she's right now on this film looking straight at, look at everybody else here. This guy is suspect in my opinion too, because he's staring straight at it too, but they all seem to have seen.
Well, and if you watch the 14 or 15 or 16 seconds before the shooting starts, she looks over there 2 or 3 or 4 times.
Yes.
When there's no apparent reason to do that and nobody else is doing it. And it's like I've been telling people all week, I am a big fan of Hanlon's razor. I don't think that one should ever ascribe to malice that which is adequately explained by incompetence or stupidity. But I also believe that Hanlon's razor has certain limits, and I think in this case we might be right up against them.
Facts. It's difficult to ascribe negligence to such a serious series of negligence. This is a level of negligence that I can't see her checking it out. She's looking over at him. She looks back at Trump. She does something on her phone. And everyone else here freaks out. She sits down and starts filming like she was totally expecting.
Her expression never changes. The phone comes up and she starts filming, and then you see her even rise to her feet, and so she can get a better angle on what she's filming. Like she's only there to do one thing. Watch her. Up comes the phone. Crouch down, better angle. I have a hard time calling that a natural reaction to an unexpected event.
Hold on, let me get this right. This guy here, where is he at? This guy here is kind of bothering me. This dude has no red on, just like the other chick down here. This dude never flinched, never moved, and simply sits there and watches it happen. And he is built like a brick shithouse. This dude should have been on the Secret Service detail.
That shot we just heard, probably the assassin's last breath. Because now you see the audience looking on the other side. So Trump is on the ground.
You ready? We're good. Down. Are we good to move? Let's go. We're clear. We're clear. Come on. Let me get my shoes. I got you, sir. I got you. Let me get my shoes. Hold up your head, buddy. So we gotta move to the front.
Let me get my shoes on. Let me get my shoes on.
I'm Donald Trump. I leave a stage on my own terms in my own time. Let me get my fucking shoes.
Right? Oh, cool.
Now,
It's
I
gonna
did
be-
drop in the back the
I got
video
you.
I mentioned to you. You saw it?
Yeah, I got you. I was just trying to figure out how to get it onto the screen without interrupting what I was doing. And because I'm using two different browsers here, it might crash me out in the process of trying to pull this off. But we'll get to that in just a second. Let's finish
I
this.
want to mention quickly while I'm thinking of it that there's another side to this equation that I think warrants mention, and that's the fact that none of the regular people in the audience who were not freaking deep state operative plants, nobody panicked or flipped out or started a human stampede, and I think that is to everyone's credit. And I would even go so far as to submit that a Trump rally might be the only place where that wouldn't have happened.
Well, no, it wouldn't have happened at a Biden rally. There would have been but 25 people there.
You raise a fair point.
Fair point. Fair point, sir. Fair
Stop
point.
He's obviously not an idiot. He can hear them saying that they've shot the shooter. Although mentally in my mind, I'm sitting there thinking, is there only one? Because JFK, I don't think it was just one for him.
Oh, come on, body language ghost.
And then you hear him, wait. And he's not really ducking his head. You do not see someone scared, ducking down, hunching their shoulders, trying to protect themselves with their own body mass or hiding behind these guys that are obviously trying to hide.
No, but right now there is a Secret Service agent sitting but squatting behind them hiding.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's the worst part of it all.
those are a couple of pretty damning photographs, aren't they?
That and her not being able to put her thing in her holster.
Gun in the holster. She couldn't even put the gun in the holster properly.
Like
and
a,
the other
like
two
a
female
suburban
agents,
housewife
when
on
you
her
watch
first
them,
trip to the shoot
when they're by the SUV, they're looking around like chickens with their heads cut off. Don't even know where they're going. Eventually, they just run off out of the frame.
They
The
did not
point
give
of
the appearance of professionalism. That's for damn sure.
Not at all.
Did
The
not.
point of having your head on a swivel, that saying, that is a real thing. But there is a difference between looking around randomly and looking around for threats. When you're looking for threats, you're looking at people who are nearby enough to be a threat, but not part of the detail in any way, right? Because nobody, after that shot was fired, nobody but Secret Service gets within arm's reach of that man.
And I think we can't overstate enough just how much of a short range kindergarten level shot this was. That a marksman of base level competence should be able to make a majority of the time without even having a scope. You should be able to make that shot with iron freaking sights 80% of the time.
I am going to my pops in a couple of weeks. It's too hot to get out there and try to do it right now, but I'm going to attempt that shot with a pistol because I said it could be done with a pistol, and somebody called me out on it. It was Midlife Bro Logic. And I sat there and thought about what all the work I'd have to do to carve out 167 yards in that swamp. I'm not going to do it in the summer. I'll do it later, but I will do it because that shot can be made with a pistol. It's not that far.
We're talking about the distance from the center field fence to home plate. That's how long this shot was.
Hide him for himself. There's no fear mentality there. This is just, he's just like, hey, wait. I'm going to get my shoes on. I'm going to give a fist pump. And then I'm going to sit there and tell him to fight. I'll stick my arm out because, there's not enough of me sticking out where I could be shot. I'm not going to hide my head. That's just loser mentality.
Now, most men in his position would take the attitude of get me the hell off the stage before they kill us all. Donald Trump sees a great iconic political moment that he can make for himself, and he doesn't leave the stage until he's made it. And just
all right. This is an issue right here, right now. The Secret Service is trying to remove this man. He is not going, and they do not have enough force to make him. And he's not even resisting that hard. He's just not doing what they say. If you get a couple
at the same time, go ahead.
If you get a couple of real big beef eaters out there to be able to grab his fat ass, throw him on their back and run away, that would be better.
Well, and
at the same time, they're trying to assess how injured he is, aren't they?
I understand in the private security industry, one of the commandments they abide by is that the person being protected should never be bigger than the people doing the protection.
Jay?
At the same time, weren't they assessing for him being injured? Because keep in mind that female agent is running her
Again.
hand across his back and chest to make sure. So
Not-
she's probably doing that in the process of.
Well, when he went down, the service that landed on him all
Mhm.
covered him, and they checked. That's why his shirt was ripped open and his suit looked like he'd just been roughed up he'd been in a Disney commercial.
Right.
Yeah, they got to him and saw that he had blood on his face, and they were making sure that wasn't from some kind of cranial or neck wound.
Mm-hmm. Which makes sense. One other thing I want to add, when he's coming down, so when he's coming down from the stairs, there's no real way to keep him protected. He's still open at that point. If there was another shooter and they were positioned properly, they could have got him right there and then. That would have been the time. You have to understand, even when they're transporting him, he's still pretty exposed. There were
And the
multiple
person
times
they
that there-
and the person they have got covering his front side as they first
Yeah.
stand him up and start to get him off the stage is about 14 inches shorter than he is.
Exactly. That's my point. I mean, they did a really shitty job. So honestly, they need to count their lucky stars that one, the shooter that we know of was a shitty shot, and two, if there was a second shooter, which that's still up for debate, that he wasn't able to get any more shots popped off. Because think about this: if there was another shooter, and he really wanted to, he could have lit into that group of people. He could have lit into all the Secret Service members and potentially got Trump. Potentially.
And also, I think it was a really fortuitous event, although it it was accidental and quite shambolic in its details. But when the two local cops, when the one local cop hoisted the other one up and he grabbed the side of the roof and pulled himself up to see there was a shooter and saw there was a shooter, and the shooter turned and pointed his weapon at him, and then the guy fell off the roof. But then the shooter turns and immediately takes his first shot, which he was then deprived of the chance of aiming properly. So that may have been the thing that made the difference, was the cop that fell off the roof and made the guy rush
Right.
his shot. Because if that event doesn't happen, that guy has got minutes and minutes and minutes to line up that shot, man.
Now, I want to give you guys some context with this. This video dropped the very same day of the shooting. A lot of people on Twitter were talking about this. It's what I mentioned to you earlier, Sasquatch. While the other woman that you saw in the other video you just covered was no. You're not going to see him come into the frame just yet. While you were talking about the other woman who brought out her phone in the last video, that was happening simultaneously as this video was occurring. Go ahead and play it, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Now you see the agent, he's moving forward. See how he's crouched? Stop it right there. Go back a couple seconds. Yeah,
Dude,
go back a couple seconds. Exactly. Go back a couple seconds. Go back. Okay. Now, okay, right there. Now play from there.
watch his left hand. He reaches up
Mm-hmm.
and touches his ear as if he heard something in the thing. And then he squats.
But notice how he squats though. Do you notice that? How smooth it is?
Yeah, like he was planning on doing it or something.
He's already half squatted.
Exactly. That's my point.
Dude.
Exactly. He's already kind of crouched over, and then he smoothly drops down. And notice, if you look at the other agents that are around him, they're all standing upright in that exact moment when he's bending his knees. Not only that, but his flinch is subtle, as opposed to the other agents' flinches, who are very natural.
Wait a second. What's this going on right here? He comes over and talks to this dude. He was sitting down. Comes over. He starts that way. He sends everybody over here. He's moving people into the line of fire or out of the line of fire.
If I had to guess, this was my theory. Was that those people were nearest to the stage and would have served as distractions for the shooter. So he moved them away, probably not anticipating the shooting to have occurred when it did. In the exact moment, he moved them away so that way the shooter would have less distractions around him and have a clearer shot on Trump. That's my theory. It's my tinfoil hat.
I had to make me a tinfoil hat so I could
Mhm.
put out crazy theories. So I have one over here if we get that far down this rabbit hole.
Well, if I had any reason to trust this administration, I would be more inclined to believe the official story, but I don't, so I don't.
Right? If we could, we might, but we can't. So
Yeah.
what are we supposed to do with that? You know?
If they had
That's
shown
our,
themselves to be trustworthy in any way, then it might change my inclination, but they haven't. So I have to be suspicious about everything because that's what they've conditioned me to do.
They're talking about Biden's legacy.
Oh Christ. Can we stop?
But
Can we stop
racism-
pretending that being in the Senate for a long time is public service? Come on, man.
I guess it's a matter of perspective, I suppose.
It's supposed to be a public
Well,
service. but
I'm
it's so
I'm
much
I'm
money.
reminded of Bobby Kennedy. He was only a senator for a short time, but it was a sufficient time that he told everybody he knew that he thought the Senate was the most worthless institution on earth, full of the most unexceptional men in God's creation. And it was a big part of the reason why he decided to run in '68 after LBJ dropped out, was to get himself the fuck out of the Senate because he found the place so intolerable. His overarching point in the whole argument was that the Senate is not a place that exceptional men go to spend long careers. And I agree with him on that.
Right. All right. Can you identify this object? What is this called?
Mouse?
You are old, sir.
Yes.
Congratulations.
I mean, I'm
Thank
using
you
one
very
right
much.
now.
Like, does it actually have a ball in it?
No, it doesn't. I haven't had to use an alcohol pad on the mouse ball in a long time. Listen, listen, I'm a '90s kid. Trust me, I'm a '90s kid. Okay, I grew up with this shit. I remember back when you wanted to play a video game, you still had to use a floppy disk. In fact, my girl was telling me that the electric piano that she used was bought back in '90. Yeah, they got it back in '91. It still has a floppy disk port for uploading music into it. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I've got
I
a
know.
Casio keyboard from about 1986.
Yeah, I am.
I got you
It's
all.
amazing, bro.
I have a functional iMac. Like,
Get the fuck out of here. What?
I have it's in the attic. I have a functional iMac. I'm not even
Lies. Lies and propaganda.
As soon as it cools off, I'll go up there and get it. But I don't feel like cooking today.
I love that we're so old that internet antiques are a thing.
Oh wow! And remember, kids, don't play with fireworks. Let the adults who've been drinking all day set them off.
Yes.
There you go.
Damn right. Words to live by.
Right? Absolutely. By the way, these memes are courtesy of Acorn Stash. Go check him out. He's cool. That's with a Z and a K, by the way. If you grew up in the 80s and you know there was nothing scarier than this guy's voice telling you about scary stuff nobody solved. Right?
Bro,
Oh, man,
Unsolved
when-
Mysteries used to
when-
be the shit back in the day.
When Lady Curmudgeon and I first started going out, we watched that show religiously every Wednesday at 8 o'clock, right before Beverly Hills 90210.
Wow. I don't think I've ever actually seen a Sinclair 1000. Not like with my own eyes.
I don't think I have either.
Welcome in, Gypsy and the Vanilla Grill. Good to see you, bud.
That's a deep cut though. The Sinclair 1000.
I hadn't even thought about it. Apologies to the older folks we used to judge for having dinner at 5 and going to bed at 9. You guys were really onto something, right?
Yeah. You know what, man? As I've gotten a little bit older, and I don't want to try and I'm not trying to play because I know I'm probably at least a decade or so younger than you guys, but I have noticed though that 5 o'clock early bird special is very, very appealing now. I can see why the appeal works. I can see why going to bed at about 8:30, 9 o'clock.
I've kind of
has its draw, huh?
I've kind of changed my method there ever since I got into YouTube. I've turned into what they call a cyclic sleeper. I'll sleep for 3 or 4 hours early in the morning between like midnight and 4 a.m. and then sleep for a couple hours between like noon and 2, something like that. I'm much more functional, just all the time.
I've never met you non-functional, sir. Well, maybe once or
You've
twice. I
seen
take
me
that back.
drinking. You have seen me drinking. I do get non-functional sometimes.
But we
I mean,
still
I thought
love
you were
you anyway.
non-functional last time. I thought you got a little bit non-functional last time you were drinking and streaming. But you were good for the most part.
I mean, as long as I keep it under a pint, I'm fine. If I
There we
ever go over a pint, I turn into an absolute monster.
Mm.
United Federation of Planets flag instead of the U.S. flag. When gas was $1.65, I used to drive around to clear my mind. Now these thoughts be living with me.
Facts. That's absolute facts, dude.
You can blame Biden for that one.
Hell yeah. I did that.
Did you guys watch any of the convention at all?
Oh, I covered it.
Yeah, we sat through the whole
Okay.
thing,
Yeah.
the whole speech. Anyway.
I mean,
believe it.
normally, the absolute last thing I would ever do in life is sit around watching a political convention. But
So
there were a couple of moments that I found really pretty powerful. Number one being when they brought Cory Comparator's helmet and jacket out on the stage, and Trump went over there and paid. I thought that was really very nice and special and touching, and more of a real thing than you normally ever see at political conventions. And whoever conceived and executed the idea did a great job, and I wanted to give that a shout out.
most definitely. Most definitely. I also think it's cool that they raised so much money for not only Comparatori's family, but also the other two individuals who were wounded. They said they raised,
Yep.
I think Trump mentioned it was 6.3
Yeah,
or $6.5 million.
Yeah, $6.5 million, something like that. And that makes me proud of my countrymen. Stuff like that, it really does.
It does give you some faith in humanity again, doesn't it?
Yep.
A little bit. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean that was the guy that got killed. That kind of hits pretty close to home for me, because he just had his 50th birthday party. I just had my 50th birthday party a few weeks ago. He's got two daughters that are the same ages as my two daughters, and that makes stuff hit close to home.
Never forget, Geppetto kept a strap under his pillow.
Geppetto was a real one.
And also it brings up a point that I don't think can be overstated, and that's that sometimes life only gives you 2 or 3 seconds to die a good death. And this guy made the most of them.
Whether you are a good man or a bad man, whether you have lived your life legally or illegally, when it comes down to how you die, you only have a second to make the decision. So in order for your decision to mean something, right, it has to be something you've considered beforehand. Your instinct,
and it is something that you should think about. I mean, it's something I think about it. I'm sure you do. I think all guys who have daughters probably think about it to some extent from time to time. And in a similar set of circumstances, I can only hope that I would equip myself as admirably as this guy did in laying himself down to keep his family safe with only a second or two to react.
I mean, that's the definition of a hero.
Yep, you're damn right. It is.
Kid Rock looks like.
Oh, did you guys?
It's Kid Rock for Halloween.
Yeah, I saw that photo actually. Did you guys actually watch all of the Trump speech? It was about an hour and a half long. It was a hell of a speech. I watched
I watched the whole.
It was close to 2 hours long. Yeah, it was pretty damn close to that. What takeaways did you get from that speech? Did you like and not like?
I was surprised by how magnanimous his tone was. All in all, I mean, there were some portions during the second act where he attacked the current administration for its various fumbles and foibles and terrible catastrophic mistakes, which of course he needs to do. It's the nominating convention. He's accepting and giving the speech, and he has to attack the current regime. But for the most part, I found his tone more subdued than I have really ever found it before when hearing him give a major speech. There were times when it was almost difficult to hear him when
Yeah.
he was during the first part when he was describing the shooting and saying that he's never going to talk about it again because it's too painful, which I thought in and of itself was a pretty powerful moment.
I thought it was interesting the fact that he brought up he wants to create an American Iron Dome system. We should have the technology now, and he's surprised that we don't have it because Israel has one. I think that's
We-
a cool thing right there for
we-
missile defense.
I disagree. I think it's already there and they're about to unveil it. I mean, that would make more sense to me because if Israel's developed it, they used American technology to do it.
Mhm.
So what we just call them up, and be like, hey guys, we want to cover 50 states that way. Well, you're gonna need a lot of
And
rockets.
it was first proposed by Ronald Reagan in 1986, and they called it a ridiculous science fiction fantasy.
In
Until
1986.
Israel unveiled it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I also thought it was cool the fact that, well, not cool, but I think it's a good idea. He's going to cut funding to schools and organizations that are teaching CRT and trans studies.
We need
It's
some
About time.
You got to make them. You got to make these institutions change their behavior somehow, and the best way to do it is hit them in the pockets.
that's right.
And you have to get that nonsense out of the government completely.
Take away federal funding. That'll do it. When the federal doesn't give money, the states will be required to justify why they are.
Exactly.
And I know I harp away on this point constantly, but how in the actual fuck does Kim Cheadle still have a job? Will somebody please explain that to me?
Because DEI is still in power. That's why.
And
I love this guy.
if the reason she has a job and if the reason she was hired in the first place was because she's buddies with Jill Biden, that needs to be investigated by Congress because Jill Biden is not a government official and she should have absolutely no influence to wield over any manner of government hiring, especially not the goddamn director of the Secret Service. Am I crazy here?
There's definitely some kind of nefarious collusion going on, but whether or not it'll be proven, whether or not they can find it in time or find anything tangible, I doubt we will. I doubt we're going to see anything. That looks disgusting.
I've got to make a statement right freaking now. Anybody giving me a damn pickle pop is getting the living shit beat out of them. I'm going to feed you that damn pickle pop. You go ahead and try it. Try to slip me a pickle pop, see what the fuck happens.
That's what the cafeteria in hell looks like right there.
Yo.
Here's your
This
pickle
is-
pop and pork soda.
Hands, oh my God.
Ugh.
Oh, good God, man. You are heinous. You're bad. Oh, man.
Yeah,
That's absolutely disgusting.
if you gave me a list of things I could blink out of existence, pickles would be on it.
I mean, pickles aren't bad, but like
They go
okay,
on
like back in the day, like did your coaches ever tell you guys that if you wanted to prevent a cramp before a game, you drink Gatorade and pickle juice, the combination?
Yep, heard that one.
Yeah, I mean it's not bad. It's just when you're expecting to drink a combination of Gatorade and pickle juice, you're okay with it. But when you're not expecting something to take like pickle juice, that's when we have a problem.
It's a little known fact: pickle juice and salt tablets will cure any ailment. A Texas
bet.
high school football coach told me that once.
He must have been in the military. I'm pretty sure he was a medic, combat medic. Right?
We need conservative propagandists to tell us what to do 1,000%. Oh, come on, not laws. Don't be like that, bro. Don't be like that.
Did I miss something? Oh yeah.
No, I'm just reading one of Not Laws' messages. He's being angsty. He says, "Yeah, we shouldn't have doctors and psychologists to help us to help write programs. What we need is conservative propagandists and religious fundamentalists to tell us what to do times 1,000."
Do you remember what Anna said? Anna Kasparian?
When?
Give me the money.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
Oh my God! I just had
Those
aneurysm.
most true words ever spoken.
Give me the money. Yeesh. Is she still with the Young Turks, or did she leave? I keep on hearing that she left, but I keep on seeing videos that she's still there. So
Aren't they going to have to start calling themselves the Old Turks at some point here?
They might have to. Yeah.
I think
I mean, that's
Cenk
hyper
Uyghur's a
propaganda.
few years older than me, and I am not young.
I got 2 pickles. I got nice. Nice.
Look at
All right.
there.
So let me
Who
ask you this.
was that on?
Go ahead.
Oh, Ernie Hatmaker with the heroic super chat. How about that, ladies and gentlemen?
Thank you, ma'am.
That is what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir.
Let me guys ask you this. Tomorrow is the congressional hearing with Miss Cheadle finding
Yes,
out what
indeed.
happened, or the oversight. Yes, the what was it? They're going to do an oversight or an evaluation on the
It's still
Secret
committee,
Service.
bro. If I'm not
Yeah, well,
mistaken,
yeah,
Oversight
well, as I believe it's an oversight committee hearing, so Comer will be chairing it, and he ain't gonna pull any punches on this chick.
Do we expect to see any heads to roll after this oversight committee is done? Doing their hearings.
Well, it's a good question because if her head hasn't rolled by now, one struggles to understand any circumstance where they would be willing to make it roll. It has been 8 days since a protectee of her agency was struck in the head with an assassin's bullet, and she still has a job. I know I keep saying that, but it really astounds me a hell of a lot. I never would have thought that was possible to happen.
Well, they're going to have to go through the process, though. They still have to go through the formalities.
that's
Especially since she's a woman,
Well,
and chances are she was able to get
she
into
should have
DEI and
resigned
all
in
that.
disgrace before last Saturday was out. That as a bare minimum response with the basic amount of professional decorum. If your agency fails that badly, you have to resign in disgrace. That is just how life works, isn't it? It's supposed to be.
Not anymore.
Especially
there's
when you
such
are in
thing
such
as
a
shame,
high
bro.
stakes position as that one.
There's no such thing as shame anymore, bro. There's no such thing. Okay, everyone gets a trophy. Everyone gets to have it. Everyone does a good job when they don't.
I've been asking for 3.5 years now, and I continue to ask. I'm asking it even more loudly now. What would it actually take for an agency head to get fired in this administration? Because we still don't know.
It would
And
take
here's the
words.
It's not allowing a former president to get shot in the head. We've established that.
I've never had a roadside picnic, nor have I ever seen one, unless you mean somebody stopping by eating next to their car or eating by the trunk, but never like someone putting out tables and chairs. I've never seen this before.
Nothing like this, but I have seen
That's
some.
right on. That's right on the shoulder, ain't it?
Yeah, that's what
There
that's
is.
my issue with it is it's right on the shoulder. I've seen this kind of activity go down like in cattle fields and people's driveways at ball games and all kinds of other stuff, but not roadside, like you said. That's weird.
Mm-mm.
I don't know what to make of that. That's a cool ass car though. I really dig that car.
Oh,
What kind of car is that?
Thing was that thing was a station wagon before station wagons were cool.
Right.
Jesus.
50.
That's a flat top ass
I-
car. Holy shit.
Bonneville,
I
maybe.
can't
something like that.
make the model, but I want to say we're in like 62 or 63.
Yeah, it
Maybe.
could be as low as 62. Right after 64, the fins all stopped. There were no more fins.
So you guys mentioned earlier.
and oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, you guys mentioned earlier in the stream, because I was listening to your monologue, Curmudgeon, and the back and forth you and Sasquatch had. Do you guys think that the best ticket for the Democrats at this point is a Kamala Harris and a Michelle Obama presidency? Do you think that's their
I
best
do
bet
not.
in order to win? Neither do I.
Not to win. No, but for
Let-
Michelle to win the next round.
Well,
I'm not
I
sure
think
whether. Go
if
ahead.
you gave me the chance to mix and match any two possible Democrats out of all the Democrats that exist,
Mhm.
I think the ticket I would probably select is Shapiro and Whitmer.
Oh,
I think Shapiro is the best guy they've got, frankly. And
No
then
way
Whitmer,
Whitmer
as a Midwest governor, would give you a pretty good chance of winning Michigan, and Shapiro, of course, in Pennsylvania. I mean, strategically and in terms of the least embarrassing candidate on the top of the ticket, that's who I would pick.
you know, it's interesting because I don't know if you guys watched the AP interview done with RFK. He came out earlier today, but he came out at about 5 o'clock Eastern, and they interviewed him. He had a press conference rather.
I read some of the
Now,
excerpts.
Now, apparently, he mentioned he would have a conversation with the DNC if they were willing to offer him the nomination. Apparently, they asked him straight out, if the Democrat Party came to you and offered you a chance to be the nominee, would you take it? And he said he would at least have the conversation, which means he would seriously entertain it. He doesn't think it's going to happen.
As a
He doesn't think
practical
it's
matter,
likely.
I think he would have a better chance of winning than anybody else.
Well,
they've
most
got on their
definitely.
bench.
Most definitely. You know, the only way you're going to beat a populist is with another populist. The problem is he doesn't think it's going to happen. The DNC probably won't do it. And he's already said before that he's going to continue running the race with his party because he still believes he can win. Now, he did mention before that he is beating Donald Trump in the polls. I looked it up. Only in the USA Today poll was he actually beating Donald Trump. But if you look at the polls on The Hill, pulled up a bunch of polls. Actually, I looked at them, and they were updated from today. And as of right now, Trump has a monumental lead over Biden and even over Biden, Harris, and RFK. So I don't know why he thinks or how he thinks he would be able to defeat Trump and also
election. Tangentially to that, could consider that Trump always outperforms his polling.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever he's leading by, he's likely to get a few points more than that. So he's got what amounts to a pretty dominant lead in all of the swing states at this point. And then I don't think the Democrats have any good way, even with every tool in the tool bag open to them, of reversing that.
When the press asked RFK if he would accept being the front runner in the DNC, he even acknowledged that even if he was given the nomination, that he wouldn't be the front runner in the DNC. He's still the way I'm taking that is, even if he was the nominee for the Democrat Party, I think he's acknowledging that Trump would still be the front runner. Trump would still be would still have the likelihood of winning.
Yeah, I think he has more of a willingness to speak pragmatically than most Democrats do.
Mm-hmm.
So he's
just
just
good.
calling things what everybody knows there. Yeah, which is good. It's a nice thing to see occasionally.
Yeah.
Instead of just constant self-delusion and having your intelligence insulted, which is what we normally get.
I would like to see him be in some kind of office, though. You know, even when Trump does win, I would like to see RFK be gifted some kind of position that he would be relevant in. I think either in the FDA would be a good position for him to be in.
I heard that he was being discussed as for head of the EPA, and I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Yes, either FDA or EPA. EPA would be good. I do think he would do a lot of good in the Trump administration. It's just whether or not he would survive it is another case. And I think this might be. How old is RFK, by the way?
68.
How old is RFK? Okay, so even if he was to run in 28, he's. I mean, by these two standards, by the standard of Trump
and Biden,
by
the current standards, he's got two more campaigns left in him. Shit.
Definitely.
And it's nice to see that finally, after months and months of asking, he has finally been granted Secret Service protection this week, but only after Trump got shot in the head. Great job, Secret Service.
Exactly. What episode was this?
You talking Married with Children? That was
I know the show.
That was the one where he had to get a third job. He had already gotten a job. He was working at the shoe store, and then he had to get a job at the grocery store because he broke something there and couldn't afford to pay for it. So he got a job to work it off. And then Peggy comes home from being gone for a couple of days with a huge bag of stuff. And so he gets a third job, and this is the end of the show. He's standing there with, because he was lying to her about making enough money at the shoe store.
It's funny. There's certain shows just like when you showed the screenshot from Unsolved Mysteries before.
Mm-hmm.
But there are certain shows where you just show me a screenshot and I still remember exactly what day and time that show came on. Married with Children was Sunday nights at 8. Unsolved Mysteries was Wednesday at 9.
Right.
Back when TV was the thing and there was a new episode every week, and it was also very quaint.
Not all heroes wear capes. Wisconsin man throws beer bottle at bartender when she changes Black Sabbath to Christmas music.
Jesus Christ. Oh man. Oh man.
You know, I'm
That's
totally
great.
yeah, this is beautiful. I'm totally going to be dropping some of these in various local
That is
reservoirs.
amazing.
It's excellent. There's a
I
crystal
100%
lake
approve of that
in
message.
Georgia. I desperately want to put one of these in there. I don't even want to tell nobody about it. I just want to put it there and let somebody discover it. That's the true nature of trolling, Cat. Like trolls out here trying to get a name in these YouTube streets by being a troll, not realizing the best trolls you'll never figure out who they are because they don't want you to know.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, some of us have been trolling longer than most trolls have been alive.
We're gonna use that as a royal we. Oh yeah, okay. All right, let's stop the memes right quick. We got 10 minutes.
Got you.
We got 10
All right.
minutes. So 10 minutes. Cap, give us
Yes, sir.
A synopsis of how you predict the next 120 days is gonna go.
I'm not sure if I have a synopsis because we are living in uncharted. We are navigating through uncharted waters and living through unprecedented times. But like I said, I think the first night of the DNC in Chicago. I mean, if it's allowed to go ahead, if the protests aren't so bad that the little Hamasniks burn down the convention hall before the thing even starts, I think the first night will be spent doing a lot of very hasty, very drastic rule changes that enable Biden's pledged delegates to somehow, through means that are still anybody's guess, transfer their loyalty and their allegiance over to Kamala Harris. And we also will have to see if there is a concerted attempt by certain quarters of the Democrat Party, you might say the Pelosi quarter and the Obama quarter, both of who very pointedly issued statements today in which they did not endorse Kamala Harris. Whether that wing of the party introduces some sort of shenanigans where they try to parachute somebody else in as a dark horse 11th hour candidate, and that might throw the whole thing into confusion and disarray. I think in any event, what we are not going to see at that convention is the 4-night made for TV, carefully staged, managed entertainment product that political conventions normally are here in our current day and age. I think we're going to see something altogether more random, more shambolic, and more unpredictable. What say you?
So, if I had to guess what's going to happen in the next 120 days, first and foremost, we're going to start with this week. This week, what you're going to end up seeing is Biden's going to have his Oval Office address where he's going to talk about how it's the MAGA Republicans who have been destroying the country and causing chaos. And he has come to realize through the grace of God and with his family that he is going to step down as president and formally relinquish it to Kamala Harris, in which case Kamala
I think
Harris
that has
is
to
going to end up.
happen.
Yes, I do as well. In which case, then she is going to end up picking her running mate, and I'm still going to put my money on Big Mike. I think she's going to end up being the running mate. And if not Michelle Obama, then the only other option I could think of would probably be Buttigieg. Likely would be Buttigieg. But you never know. Maybe Amy Klobuchar might come out of nowhere and scoop it up.
They could do a lot worse than her.
They could. After that, you'll probably end up seeing. She's going to try and make her mark as much as possible. They're going to try and push some kind of. They'll start pushing some type of bill or some type of. Actually, no, not even a bill. What they're going to end up doing is, you're going to see all the anti-Trump rhetoric ramp up. They're going to do whatever. Hey, you actually have a tinfoil hat.
I got a real one.
There it
Go
is.
ahead.
That's what I'm
Oh
talking
my
about.
god, bro. Oh my god, bro. Okay, so whatever they could possibly find left to dig up on Trump, whatever legal issues are possibly left over, any and everything they can use, they're going to use. They have to use. The deep state realizes that they took a shot at the king, they missed, And now Trump has no choice but to drain the swamp. He has to, because they've already tried to take him out. I don't give a shit what anybody says. They can say it's a lone wolf. That's cool. But when an event like this has too much coincidence, there's no such thing as too much coincidence. There is no such thing as too much coincidence. There is no such thing as too much coincidence. Go ahead.
Hold my beer. Here's what
And
happens.
I very much hope that we get some actual information out of that oversight hearing tomorrow, because we very much are entitled to it.
Are you covering it, Jay?
I can. I'm at work tomorrow.
Okay. I might end up having to do that. Anyway,
Yeah, you might.
here's what happens next 120 days. Joe comes out, says he's too sick to serve as president, hands the reins over to Kamala. Kamala chooses her VP. It is Big Mike. Big Mike comes in. Kamala gets popped by an actual deep state sniper. And we get live footage of Michelle Obama trying to help protect her president, right? Like the whole 9 yards. We get a full Trump reenactment of what just went down, except it's the Democrats pulling it off this time. And
Well, and also let's
Back in
not
20.
let this whole show go by without mentioning that vulture that is still up there circling at 30,000 feet that's named Hillary Clinton.
right, but I don't think Hillary's got a shot in this one unless Michelle Obama chooses her for her running mate. That might be an interesting view.
Because I don't think it's a coincidence that just this morning, before this news about Biden quitting had come out on Face the Nation on CBS, they had a guy on there floating an emergency Hillary Clinton candidacy, saying why she's the best candidate the Dems have. So
That's
she's
impossible.
I've been telling people this whole time, she's been circling up there waiting for her moment to pounce on the carcass, and we have arrived at the
what it
moment. So we
takes.
will see what happens.
To put Hillary in the VP seat, it would take Kamala choosing Michelle as her vice president as when Joe steps down. Then a sniper removes Kamala, leaving Michelle president right before the election, making her an incumbent. She chooses Hillary for her running mate, and we've suddenly got the star power and the deep state well in stock on this one.
I think that there's a possibility that at that convention we might see a House of the Dragon style female on female catfight between Team Kamala and Team Hillary, because we know that Hillary still deems herself entitled to be the first woman president, and that we know that Kamala, by virtue of being the first female vice president, also deems herself entitled to that distinction and that station. So have at it, ladies. We'll get a big bowl of Jell-O, and you guys can wrestle.
I got to say this one thing though. I don't think Hillary Clinton sucked Bill Clinton's dick for so long just to be a vice president. But think of it. I'm not sure.
I also
Hillary-
don't-
No. If she,
I also don't think that.
No, if she swooped in and took the thing for herself, Kamala would be not part of the equation. She would be gone somewhere. I don't know if it would be an Arkansas deal or what have you, but go ahead.
I also don't think that this is going to be the only time we see the deep state take a shot at Trump. I do believe that there's going to be at least one more attempt before we reach November. At the very least, we do.
Will be a gun.
And
I don't think
I
it'll
wish
be a
I
long
could say I disagree, but I
away.
don't.
I mean, let me whether or not it's going to be a shooter is besides the point. You're going to see at least one more attempt, in my opinion.
in the chat.
You know, what was that?
This guy named
Well,
Kyle
and
Cleese not a show.
you would have to think that potential attackers, any who might be out there, may be emboldened now, knowing how diminished and how incompetent the leadership of the Secret Service is, and that's not a strong message to be sending out to crazy people.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to wrap it up with a three-way breakdown. We're going to start with Juicy J because he's the juiciest man on panel. Let's see if we can find
You got
him
it,
there.
bro. If you just want to, I'm assuming you just want a breakdown of what we're talking about, or you just want me to?
We're fixing to close out. We end at an hour and 30 minutes. You've got a minute.
Oh,
Whatever
cool, guys.
what topic.
Oh, great. Guys, thank you so much for having me on here. My channel is called Jay's Hot Topics. The show is called Juicy Jay's Hot Topics. I also have a Rumble under the same name and a Twitter under the same name. I really appreciate Sasquatch for having me, Captain Curmudgeon also for having me. I look forward to being here next week. If you guys want to hear and see more topics and more content like this, you can always come over to my channel, Jay's Hot Topics. I try to have at least one stream a week, although I've been very active. I'll be having several streams this week. I will be covering not only JD Vance's rally in Ohio, I'll also be covering Trump's rally on Wednesday in North Carolina. I have a couple of guys from New Frontier, the organization I'm part of, who are going to be there live. I'll be interviewing them as well here on my channel, or rather over there on my channel. So if you guys want to see more, come on over to the channel. I would love to have you.
Fantastic. You did an excellent job, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all all know who I am, and I'm going to give it to Cap so he can do the thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you ever so much for joining us here on the Blast Radius. We sure do appreciate it when you make us a little small trifling part of your Sunday evening. We know that events come at us fast and furious these days. We do our best to keep up with them for you, and we hope you've had an agreeable weekend and a pleasant Sunday, and we hope you have an equally agreeable and pleasant week ahead. We will see you next time. Do not comply. Get off our lawn.
Give me the money. Give me the money, okay?